welcome in hockey fans from the desert Southwest. I keep telling everybody our 5th year is going to be a great year, right? And I told you September was going to be a great year of Sunday Specials. This is the guy I've been trying to get at for a long time. He's the busiest person in hockey. It's Ahron Cohen, the president and CEO of the Arizona Coyotes. Glad to have you in, Ahron, and I know you're extremely busy, so thank you for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to talk to you here.
All right, so here's the deal, right? I wanted to do this as we took a look at the 5 years that we've been doing ITHSW.com. Yeah. And I want to talk past, present, and future. So let's start the first segment by talking past. I'm going to give you a chance to tell everybody about your Minnesota background and about your hockey background and what you do. So tell everybody, who is Ahron Cohen?
Sure. So my Minnesota hockey background is short. I was the one guy in Minnesota that did not play hockey. But, you know, I had a lot of friends playing hockey. I played football and basketball growing up and just grew up in a real sports family and you know, going to Minnesota Timberwolves games. And Wild, I was kind of that lost generation where we didn't have the North Stars, and then the Wild came pretty late, but going to Vikings games and things like that. But it was so nice up in Minnesota. Hockey is everywhere. It's just a part of the fabric of the culture up there. And grew up, went and played college football in Maine at Bowdoin College, another big hockey school, but still no hockey. Then I worked my way down here, and then go figure, you're working for a hockey team in Arizona. But yeah, I just really wanted to stay involved in sports when I was playing college football, and loved the camaraderie and the teamwork component of that, and wanted to find a way to be involved in a front office for a team. Actually looked at coaching college football, and then I said, well, I think maybe going the law school route is a better route for me. So I ended up coming down. I actually came down to Arizona, like I think a lot of Minnesotan stories coming down here. I came down here in end of December to see a Minnesota Gophers football game, a bowl game at the Insight Bowl. And I came down with my father, and it was -10 when I left Minneapolis. I came down here and it was 75 degrees, and I was in the process of applying to different law schools. And I came down to ASU's campus, beautiful campus, a lot of great things going on, and I said, I'm sold. This is the place I need to be. So I came down here, and I was actually interning for the Minnesota Vikings when I was in law school, and then I joined a law firm down here. I was stuck practicing law, which isn't as fun as working for a sports team. And then actually while I was at the law firm, I represented the Coyotes ownership group when they bought the team from the NHL in 2013. So that was kind of my first inroads into connecting with the league and the ownership here. So then a couple years later, you fast track that, and they hired me in 2015. I joined as the club's general counsel, and then you know, with a lot of dynamic things going on here, eventually became chief operating officer, and now I'm in my 2nd year as president and CEO of the team. So been a fun journey, but there's nothing that I'd rather be doing.
All right. Well, I told you that we talked about the past, and the Coyotes' past has been a little bit tumultuous, to say the least, and I give you a lot of credit for a couple of things. Number one is I think you changed the culture really quickly. I also think you stabilized the franchise, and I think Mr. Morello coming in might have something to do with your stability. And I don't want to keep patting you on the back too much because I might hurt you, but tell me a little bit about what it's been like over the last 1.5 to 2 years that you've been at the helm here.
Yeah, I think, you know, what was really important for me is really establishing core goals of who we are as a franchise. I think for way too long we'd been focused in just what's in front of our faces, and there'd been all these existential questions about what are we doing, where's our arena going to be, are we even going to be here next year, all this other nonsense that, you know, fundamentally detracts from what we're trying to do here as a sports team. And at the end of the day, when people are trying to participate with the Coyotes or listening to the Coyotes on the radio or watching their games or coming to our games, people want to escape from their daily lives. They want to feel a part of something. They want to really rally, you know, with and you know, behind a team that's out there competing on the ice. And I thought that it was incredibly important for us to distance ourselves from some of that other noisy stuff that was talked about, you know, with the Coyotes way too much, and establish our core goals. So I said, what are we about? Who are we? And we did a lot of reflection, and the 3 core goals we established, we said, look, we got to win on the ice. We got to produce a competitive product that's going to compete for the ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. You hear us talking about that now, and you go back, it was just survival. It was just how do we get through the season. But you know, now we're starting to talk about those things of that's our goal, and we're unabashed about that. I mean, obviously, you know, you need to get into the playoffs, and you know, we tend to take the Bill Belichick approach of what's right in front of us, what's the next game. But at the end of the day, we want to bring a Stanley Cup to the people of Arizona here. So I think we're taking some good strides in that regard. We have a tremendous general manager in John Chaika, who really is very thoughtful in his approach. Rick Tocchet is about as good of a competitor as there is in the league, so we like where we're at there. Two other big core pillars that we have is going out and building new fans. I think the frustration that we've had is, you get people into the arena, and it's the same handful of diehard hockey fans that have always been our fans. And, we recognize, look, this is a big community. There's a lot of people that maybe haven't experienced hockey as much as they need to. But, look, you love this sport. I love this sport. It's such a great sport to participate in, but also to watch. And our focus has been, how do we go out and attract new fans? So, we're doing a lot of community engagement. We're trying to get more people playing hockey, whether that be starting with street hockey and then they're working their way to ice hockey. But it's not solely people playing hockey. That's very important, but it's also just getting people feeling a sense of community around this team and feeling a part of something. So whether you're 9 or 90, we want to get people out to the game and have a great time. So we're trying to produce a great in-game experience. We're trying to get out to the entire state, whether it be through food truck festivals, things like that. We just want everybody to, we have a bar program that we're establishing, so we have our flags up at all these local bars. We want to establish this culture in this community where people are thinking, eating, breathing, sleeping Arizona Coyotes hockey. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, we needed to change how we view our role in the community. We need to really make a positive impact in the community, because I think for too long, we've kind of been on the outskirts looking in. And there's been a lot of ownership and leadership changes and all that. And I think we got away from, what does it really mean to be a sports team in a community? And we have private ownership. Obviously, Alex Morello owns the team. Right. But sports are a little different than maybe another business, because sports, everybody in this community is a stakeholder. Everybody really has ownership in this team. And Rick Welts, who used to be the president of the Suns, now the president of the Golden State Warriors, was saying this too. It's really, ownership and leadership are more of like a board of trustees. They're really holding the team in trust for the people who are the true owners. So we've really stepped that up over the last year or so in terms of our community outreach, our community giving, and that's something that, at the end of the day, I hope that my legacy is looked back on and as really, our organization is an organization that is a leader in this community in terms of giving back.
I think you're well on your way to that, personally. I'll tell you a little story quickly on what I did. When I grew up a North Star fan in Minnesota, right, I bled green, I think. And when the North Stars left, I was heartbroken. I was an adult, a young adult at that time, but when they left, I was heartbroken because everybody around me didn't think they'd ever leave, right? So when the talk of the Coyotes leaving came about, I relived that as an Arizona resident, and I said, what can I do to bring this back? And my thought of it is, as you know, a lot of people are transplant. You and I are both. But I gave up my alliances for the most part to, I still cheer for my Minnesota teams, but I thought if I'm going to live in this community, it's time to support this community. And I've done that for the last 29 years. This is home now, right? Yeah. And I think we need more and more people to take that attitude on. And I like what you're doing with the deck rinks, and I like what you're doing with the outreach. I think that's a good starting point, and I think that's where you're going to grow off of. So let's end this segment of the past, and let's jump into the present and talk about where we are right now.
Yeah, where we're at right now, we're really happy about the direction that we're growing. Last season, we saw tremendous growth, both in wins. We were this close to the playoffs. That would have been really fun. And but you really started to see something that I can't remember for a very long time with this franchise, which is that buzz in March throughout this whole this whole community was really galvanized around this team and that push for the playoffs. Everybody had scratching and clawing T-shirts running around town. It was great. How cool was that? And it was wonderful. But we're poised to take some major steps forward this year. All of our business metrics are up this year we're pacing up compared to where we were last year when we already saw really good growth. I think our hockey team is ready to go this year. Phil Kessel's coming in. I know he's hungry to win and has a great relationship with Coach Tocchet. So I really like where we're at. But the beauty that we have here, we can never sit and just say, hey, status quo is good, we're just going to be satisfied if we just keep on doing what we're doing. This is a unique organization, and everybody from the coaches to the players to myself to every single person that works here, our mentality is and has to be, how do we take this and make this better than the day before? Every single day, can we get better? Can we make this a better organization? Because we have a long ways to go. And my hope, because you've seen this throughout hockey and professional sports, hockey, Nashville and Tampa, they had some tough situations too, and now they're really considered model franchises. And I look, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't be in their same shoes. Similar non-traditional markets. They developed a winning culture. They gave back to the community. They developed this buzz around the team. And I'm excited to be talking to you next year as we're kicking off and saying, wow, look how much we grew this past year, and then focused on doing the same thing the following year.
All right, let's take one quick break. Let's come right back and let's continue that conversation about what's going on with the Arizona Coyotes.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.
Southwest. It wouldn't be the Desert Southwest if I wasn't in front of the Kachina, right? Exactly. So when we talk about the president of the Arizona Coyotes, and I've got the president and CEO with me, so let's talk about the Kachina and the resurgence of the Kachina.
Yeah, I mean, we love the Kachina. It's such a great logo, and last year we started this. We had the opportunity with the league to go to a third jersey, and we started tinkering a little bit. We said, do we come up with something new and edgy? And then we just said, look, we're so proud of our history here. And this is our 23rd year here in the Valley. And it's important because we've had a lot of trials and tribulations, and there's a lot of opportunities to, kind of fold this, or things weren't going to work out, but we're still here. And, we've been here for a really long time, too, about the same time as the Diamondbacks, or the year before, I think, the Diamondbacks. Right, yeah, absolutely. And so we wanted to pay tribute to our roots and our history. But the other thing is, this is just a great jersey. And we wanted to really have a special feeling to it, so we came up with the idea for Kachina Saturdays. So our Saturday night games, there's kind of this added buzz. The players feel it because they're wearing the throwback Kachinas. And last year was really successful, and people love buying the Kachina gear and the merchandise, and we're going back to it this year.
Okay, you not only have the Kachinas in the professional ranks, but you also undertook, with the help of Lindsay Fry, the new Kachinas Girls program, which is 100+ right now and growing every day. I just talked with Lindsay the other day, and she said she thinks it's going to double or possibly triple in the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, let me say this about Lindsay. So she's just one of we're so lucky to have her as part of this organization. She's one of the best people that I know. She's done a lot of things with the organization over the years. Right. One of the first things I did, I think this was like day 3 of me becoming the CEO, I said, I need to sit down with Lindsay and talk to her, because she's done such a remarkable job of not only, boots on the ground in terms of growing female hockey and also youth hockey generally, but she's a role model. She's somebody that people can look up to with her story, and not just girls, guys and girls. Oh, absolutely. And I sat down and started talking to her, and I'm inspired by her story. And it's so crazy to think about, because she starts talking about, and she's not old. She's like 26 years old, and she starts talking about back when I was growing up, and there weren't opportunities for girls hockey, and I was playing with the guys, and it just you think about how long it's taken our sport to get more females playing hockey, but also just the amazing jump that we've had in a pretty short amount of time. But she talked about these opportunities where she didn't have good girls opportunities. She starts playing with the guys, goes on and plays at Harvard. That's not good enough, so she goes on and leads the U.S. women's Olympic team to a silver medal. That's not good enough. She goes and gets her MBA. And what really stood out was, I sat down and I said, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? And here's somebody that's incredibly bright and dynamic, and she can go to Wall Street and be an investment banker or whatever and make a whole lot more money. And she said, this is where I need to be. I want to be right here in Arizona growing girls hockey and youth hockey and really empowering people and growing at the grassroots level, so then there's more opportunities for people like me that I didn't have. And I said, I need you to be part of this organization. And fortunate enough to bring her in, and she's been phenomenal. And, you know, you look at some of the growth rates that we're on with youth hockey. I mean, over the last 5 years, we lead all U.S. NHL markets in terms of the highest growth percentage over the last 5 years. And that says something. That says something, you know, the work you're doing, the work everybody's doing at the grassroots level to really get people excited and playing the sport. It's a great sport. There's no sport. I have 2 sons. Although their dad didn't play a lot of hockey in Minnesota, my 2 boys in Arizona are already playing a lot of street hockey. So,
well, and that jumps us into the point with a lot of the retired NHLers, former Coyotes, former not Coyotes, are finding Arizona as a home. Their kids are growing up, and guess who's benefiting? The youth of Arizona, because they're coming out and coaches. And I'm talking about a Shane Doan, a Ray Whitney, Derek Morris. I can go on and on and on. And the growth of what's happening in the Desert Southwest has got a lot to do with them too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great place to live and retire. So it's no coincidence that a lot of people want to retire here when they can live wherever they want. And I think a lot of kids are benefiting from these great coaches and great role models to look up to. And where I'm really excited to see this go, obviously we have the phenomenal story of Austin Matthews growing up, and Lindsey Fry is another great example. But where I'm excited to see is you see St. Louis has kind of created this cluster. I mean, and we're benefiting from that with Keller and Fisher growing up there, and you know, not with our team, but the Kachucks, and you know, it's really exciting to see and think about that could be Arizona in a few years. I don't think we're that far away.
Okay, I know you got your law degree from ASU, so you got to have a little soft spot for that NCAA program over there. Tell me what you thought when ASU said, hey, we're going NCAA, and then after you've had a chance to see it for a little bit now and they go to the national tournament, I don't know if you've heard, but I've predicted they're going to the Frozen Four this year. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so one, their athletic director, Ray Anderson, is a good friend of mine, and just such a great visionary with this stuff. And, you know, very historically, academic institutions aren't the most innovative, maybe, but they're at the right place because ASU is the most innovative of all the schools. And I think somebody approached him and said, why don't we go D1 with hockey? And he said, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And it's been such a great success story to see, and we know those guys very well, and Coach Powers is doing an exceptional job. Frank Ferrara, who oversees their hockey program, and they're just so excited about this growth, and it's really a story that's taken the whole country by storm, and you're getting a lot of these retired former NHL players, their kids now are going there, and I got to tell you, as a Minnesota guy growing up, Bemidji State, St. Cloud State, Mankato State, they're going to lose a lot of recruits to ASU because it's such a great place to be and go to school, just like me, getting out of the -10 weather there.
All right, so I think we're pretty well set with the present. Let's take one more quick break. Let's come back and talk with Ahron Cohen about the future, and I'm going to ask you to look into a crystal ball. I did for the next 5 or 10 years when I set up my business model, so tell me what you think we're going to be in the next 5 or 10 years. We'll be right back.
In 1998, Bell Road in North Scottsdale was barely more than desert landscape. Now, 20 years later, what a difference. Our programs have developed junior Coyotes and Arizona Bobcats hockey players, elite figure skaters, as well as skaters that just want to have fun. Our partners prepare you on and off the ice, and we entertain you in the newly restyled 18 Degrees. The Ice Den Scottsdale has been the official practice facility of the Arizona Coyotes and your home for hockey in the Valley. The Ice Den, your home for hockey, skating, and most of all, fun.
Southwest. It's another Sunday special. I tried to get Ahron Cohen first. His schedule is incredibly busy, so I said, you know, I'd like to kick this off with you, but now I think, as it turns out, you're going to be the middle piece of this, and I think it's going to be perfect.
Perfect. Right before great,
so let's talk about the future, okay? I asked you before we went to break to look into a crystal ball. You've had a chance to see the past. You know where we're at right now. Where do you think, let's start with the Coyotes. Where do you think the Coyotes are going to be? Well, let me step back. Let me tell you where I think the Coyotes are going to be. I made this bold statement a couple weeks ago on Twitter. I said, Desert hockey fans in the Phoenix area, get ready, because your Arizona Coyotes are going to be a perennial playoff hockey team for the next decade. Ahron Cohen says?
I love it. I love it. I'm not going to fight with that. No, I think looking at this and putting on our magic hats and looking at crystal balls, 5-10 years from now, I mean, my goal, just like we were talking about earlier with the Stanley Cup, I mean, our goal is not middle of the road. Our goal is the top, and we want to be successful for a very long time here. And our goal is very simple. We want to be a model franchise. You know, we don't want to have 1 year of success and then we drop down, and that's not how we do things. We want people to look at us, and like I'm talking about Nashville and Tampa, we want them to talk about the Arizona Coyotes right here in Arizona like that for a very long time. And how do you build that? You invest in the future right now. So all these things that we're doing in terms of developing a Hispanic audience, going out there and engaging in the community, getting young kids playing hockey. These are all things that, you know, hopefully we see a little uptick in the short term, but they're really long-term investments. And those are things that I think historically we haven't done enough of, but now we have this opportunity to really look out further and make those investments. And 10 years from now, I hope we're sitting here and we'll do the interview together and we'll say, wow, look how far we've come, look how much we've grown, and now everybody around North America is looking at us as a model sports team, not just in the NHL, but through all of sports.
Well, let me tell you what I found when I traveled the Desert Southwest, because the off season I used to go around and just check on things and see how things are going. Yeah. So I get around and see a lot of different people from the NHL on down, and 3 things were spoken to me almost in unison all summer long: stability, depth, and character. And when I look at every organization in the Desert Southwest, from the ACHA club level on up, I think we can look at every program and say there's stability, there's depth, and there's character. And I'm guessing that you're going to agree with me on the Arizona Coyotes side of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's incredibly important for us. When we're going out and bringing new people into the organization, whether they be players or people off the ice, first and foremost, they have to be good people. Yeah. Even if people have talent or skill, if they're not good people that are committed to the right things of you know, putting this organization first, doing things the right way, putting their family, you know, ahead of all else, then they're not the right people for us. So I mean, that's what we're about, and that's what we're focused on. But yeah, that's really nice to hear with everybody. And yeah, I think we're in this unique position now. I think you go back a little bit and you talk about non-traditional markets, and I think the success that hockey has experienced in Vegas and Florida and Nashville and Dallas and some of these other places, I think we've really put to bed that whole notion of a non-traditional market. I think hockey is everywhere. And quite frankly, right here in Arizona with the ASU story, pretty remarkable. Yeah. And where I'm really excited to see this go is other schools are taking notice of the success that ASU has had, and you're going to see a lot more, I think, schools in the Pac-12 jumping on board. And my bold prediction is that there's going to be a Pac-12 hockey conference before too long, which I think would be fantastic.
I like it. Okay, so when we look in the future, we also have to look down to the youth ranks and see what's going on there. And I think you're going to agree with me on this one too, is that the number one thing we need now is we've got the deck rinks that you guys are doing, which are awesome, and getting people involved, but we need more ice. And that's one of the things that I'm guessing you've had conversations with Mr. Morello about already, is what do we do for, everybody says the Coyotes need an arena. I'm here, okay? This arena is beautiful. Yeah. Would it be maybe better suited on the east side? Maybe, maybe not. But the arena here is good, but we need some of those grassroots rinks. What are your thoughts on that? Are we going to see some more grassroots rinks around the state?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's incredibly important that we get that. I mean, look, hockey is such a great sport, but one of the challenges is it's very expensive, and it's taxing on families, and they're driving all over the city to go to rinks, and ice time is expensive. And you know, in our mission of getting more and more people exposed to our team and our sport, we got to get more people participating. And how do you do that? You got to find ways to make it more easily accessible and reduce the cost. How do you do that? You build more rinks, get more ice time. And Tucson, I mean, Tucson's an important market for us as well with the Roadrunners. the only sheet of ice down there right now is the TCC where we play our games, but they have a lot of other events going through there, and they just don't have a lot of time. So you got kids that are diehard hockey fans from Tucson having to drive up to Chandler and the Phoenix area just to play hockey, and we got to change that. We got to get that fixed. So, that's certainly, in our initiatives of things to get done is how can we participate with some, and these are complicated, things in terms of who are you partnering with and what does the investment look like and the operating costs and all that. But we're operating from a fundamental philosophy that we need more rinks, and we're going to do everything we can to support more rinks getting constructed, and any way that we can participate in terms of programming or some other ways, we're going to look at everything.
Okay, so I'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring it up, because I started by saying I didn't want to talk about this, but as we, in your estimation, we're sitting in Gila River Arena. It's a beautiful facility, right? Everybody that comes here tells me that. Yeah. They go, oh my God, Arizona's got one of the best rinks, and now the new scoreboard and the Wi-Fi system and everything that's going on around here is better and better. Is there a need for a new rink for the Coyotes, or can the Coyotes be the Coyotes right where they're at?
Yeah, I mean, these are complicated matters to think through, and the sports landscape has changed so much. There's a lot of things that, when you're building a rink 20, 30 years ago, become outdated and obsolete. And one big thing, and you see this right now, we have 86 luxury suites in our building. The Golden State Warriors, probably the hottest team on the planet, in a tremendously rich market in San Francisco, they only have 30 suites. So it's a changing philosophy in how these things are put together. So, I think we need to look at all those different things, and whether we're here or elsewhere, how do we provide the best fan experience possible? So, we tend to focus on what's right in front of us, like the Bill Belichick approach. How do we make this fan experience while we're here in Gila River Arena the best that it can possibly be? So, this season we're seeing some big improvements. We're bringing in new food and beverage options to kind of enhance the local flavor, bringing in Gadzooks, Broad House, cold beers and cheeseburgers, really good food, places that I like to go to all the time. Now our fans don't have to make that choice. So do I go there to a Coyotes game? You get to go to both. And just also doing some things. We're trying to make it a little more Vegas-like when the players are skating out onto the ice. So we got some cool surprises once the season gets started. But I think long-term, and there's been so much chatter about arena stuff for so long, and this goes back to my approach, which is, I think it's more important, and I truly believe this. You could put this on Main Street in Maine. You could be in the middle, you could be in Midtown Manhattan. Right. If you don't have a winning team, if you're not going out and building new fans, if you're not making a difference in the community, then it doesn't matter where you're located, you're not going to be successful. So those are the things that we really need to focus on, and that's where our full attention is, to just make this a great organization and a great fan experience.
I think I can wrap kind of things up here by saying something. I talked with Jeremy Roenick when he brought his camp to the Ice Den this summer, right? Yeah. And we were talking about him playing through pain and different things like that. And I think we can talk that in organizational philosophy too, where he gave me one statement. He said, you know what? I played because pain is temporary, but pride is forever. So when I say that statement in the corporate market of the Arizona Coyotes, the pain of the past is just that, right? Yeah. But the pride of the Kachina of the Coyote head is the future. That's what you're playing for, correct?
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. And by the way, I saw Jeremy at the camp as well. How cool was that for those kids? I mean, I watched him. He was skating around. He was coaching the kids, and that goes back to that. We're so lucky to have these great former players here that are giving back and really staying involved in the hockey culture. Whether it's him or Shane Doan, Ray Whitney. Yeah. I mean, that really means something for those kids to go out to the rink and they're seeing Shane Doan skating around. I mean, that's just really cool and really inspiring for these kids.
Ahron Cohen, I know I've probably kept you longer than you needed to be here, but I appreciate the time. It's always great to talk hockey with hockey people that know the game, that understand what's going on, but know the business side of it, right? Because so many people are fans, and they want this and they want that, but they don't realize that there's a process in it. So let's finish off one thing. I had the privilege of watching Austin Matthews put on the Arizona State Sun Devil uniform and skate around the rink, and everybody said, 6 years down the road, can we have that man? Can we have that man? I'm going like, we can't talk about that. He's property of somebody else. But off the record, how would it look to see Austin Matthews in a Coyotes Kachina jersey?
Oh, man. Gary Bettman, if he sees this, is going to kick me under the table. But no, I mean, Austin just means so much to this community in terms of hockey. And I saw an advanced copy of that ASU video. It was really cool. So that was fantastic. But, you know, he's just, I feel a lot of pride just being here in Arizona and seeing the success that he's had and continues to have. And, you know, I know his parents, they're great people, very committed people. And, you know, it should make everybody in Arizona feel proud that, you know, we were able to produce somebody through this community to be arguably one of the best players in the entire world. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, I know he's told me personally that the Coyotes were the reason that he played the game, and I think they always will be in the back of the heart. So I can say it, nobody else can, but let's hope sometime down the road we have Austin Matthews. I'd like to see a number 34 in a Kachina. Ahron Cohen, thanks so much for spending some time. It's been a great series. As I said, you're going to be the middle guy, so you anchored us well. We're going to end up with one of your personal assistants, and Lindsey Fry, next. And then we're going to cap things off on your opening weekend by bringing Greg Powers in on his opening weekend. So it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for spending the time.
My pleasure. Always great talking with you.
Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State